do you want to buy this BMW X3?
I fix it with a hammer. I fix it with a hammer.
I make it with some parts my cousin find that tiny tip.
I fix it with a hammer. I fix it with a hammer.
You give me your best price. I shake my head so sad. I need you to come up, please. Best price, you price so bad. I fix it with a hammer. 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 My friend come back from building site in utter agony.
I fix it with a hammer. I fix it with a hammer.
He walking like a weeble. He dislocate his knee.
I fix it with a hammer. I fix it with a hammer.
He tell me that it happened when he trip over a pallet. Now I come to fix him up with strong tap from a mallet. I fix it with a hammer. 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 Yeah. Fax machine, Elvis Presley, WhatsApp group, Malibu, pregnant, funny videos, YouTube, Bitcoin. You send me money now, send me money please now. The best mode, best band, universe, music make you free.
I fix it with a hammer.
I fix it with a hammer. They can take away your moped, but they cannot take your dreams.
I fix it with a hammer.
I fix it with a hammer. One day we can all be free and work on radio too. The best mode will be playing and playing just for you. Cause I fix it with a hammer. 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 I fix you 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 with a hammer.
I fix it with a hammer. I fix it with a hammer. I fix it with a hammer. I fix it with a hammer.
This generation rules the nation. Sounds to be a fine thing. With verse. Music happened to be the food of love. Sounds to really make you rub and scrub. Ba-dum ba-dum bum 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 biddly bum. Bum 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 biddly 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 bum. I say,
pass the dutchie on the left hand side. I say, pass the dutchie on the left hand side. It go bam.
he give me music, make me jump and prance.
It go down.
He give me music, make me rockin' at the dance. Shut up!
Oh. All right. Here we go. Let's party. Yeah. All right now. Sorry, ladies. Sorry, ladies. All right. Sorry, ladies. So sorry, ladies. All right. Oh.
I have got a new Galaxy Flip, the brand new folding phone. Now I am so cool and hip with this new phone that I own. Check out my new phone, everyone, I think you'll all agree. Having a brand new shiny phone makes me a better me. Would you like to see my folding phone? Folding up, it's cool. Okay then, I'll fold it up and you can watch it. It was not a folding phone! 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 So no one told you life was gonna be this way. Bit pots and scream too, watching hirings fall away. You got fired after a couple of seasons fronting Top Gear. Or you smashed up your new sports car, or you really
right. Oh, how are you? I got to figure out when to prepare this show. Monday morning is not the time to prepare the Monday morning show. I need a weekend team. Can we have a... Hello, good morning. I tell you what I wish. If you don't watch on YouTube, then you won't know that it's youtube.com/nottodaypod. You won't know that I sort of play tunes. It's like a sort of medley of contextless songs from earlier in the podcast series. Sort of DJ my own... not greatest hits. What I wish, though, is that you could have seen Mic's face, Mic Wright, as I played the tunes out. In fact, why don't we just cut to the chase and bring him on?
Every day the papers pump out endless streams of hate. The fifth column's propaganda they will propagate. But who can penetrate the ramparts of the fourth estate? Mic Wright, a.k.a. Broken Bottle Boy. Mic Wright, a.k.a. Broken Bottle Boy.
Yes, and I bet he'd like to be speaking now. And he can now. I've plugged in the lead. Yeah. Can we talk to the weekend team about how they leave the studio? Hi, Mick.
Good morning. Yeah, Matt,
this is not local
I've
radio.
Done far more than you. Far more good mornings than you, Matt, surely.
You need to stop listening to Matt. You need to stop listening to Times Radio. Hasn't everyone else?
Apparently not.
Really? Are they doing okay? They've done quite a big publicity campaign, haven't they? I've seen their posters in London and stuff.
Yes. Yeah, it's unfortunate. Anyway, no, the thing is, listening to your greatest hits, I felt like, what did I read? I felt like I was Noriega in Panama and you were the CIA trying to smoke me out of my palace by playing Barney the dinosaur.
Wow.
That's what I felt like.
Okay.
I felt, or it was the auditory representation of one man's very slow rolling breakdown.
That's much closer to the truth, isn't it?
Yeah, I felt like I wasn't going to say that because I thought that's quite on the money. And then I thought,
yeah, that's fine.
We were honest here.
I recently sold the mechanical rights to Abu Ghraib. So,
who's laughing now?
So
certainly
listen,
not the remaining
fine,
prisoners
okay. Well,
there.
look, there's a lot of and podcast daddy can take it. There's a lot of tweaking of the. I said, what do you want to talk about today? And you simply said pigs. Yes. I was like, that is a red rag to a vegan bull. Like, that's fine.
Yeah.
What do you want?
Yeah, not just pigs. Well, Simon Heifer as well, who in his own way is a kind of porcine creature.
I mean, it's more bovine, surely.
Well, I photoshopped his face onto a Vogon this weekend, and it fitted surprisingly well.
Is that just for your personal use, or is that a?
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Mate, I'm not judging.
I've used up all the most grotesque porn on the internet, so now I'm reduced to creating my own homemade Simon Heifer porn. No, that's not true.
Could I have a look? Just for fun, just for a laugh.
Just
for
to
laugh.
see,
just for a laugh.
Just like
just for a laugh. It's for laugh.
Just a little chuckle. Just a little chuckle.
Send it to my. Okay.
Yes. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Let's restart.
No, I can't do that.
Okay. Right. All right. Right. Do you want to talk about heifer first or pigs first?
Come tu veux. This is your forum. This is
Listen, we'll have none of that foreign mock now that we're out of the EU.
So yeah, all right. It's very hard to get hold of foreign aphorisms.
I'm extremely disappointed that Jon Holmes didn't destroy the show last week. I was promised that he would destroy the show, and here the show still is.
All I'm going to say is he's sent me something for this week, and I haven't listened to it in advance.
Excellent.
And he said, I am literally just trying to get you cancelled now. So I heard one clip, like just full disclosure, as I was editing it together, I heard one clip which literally just said, I heard the phrase, identify as a truck.
Right.
And my bowels turned to water. So I don't know what's coming.
But that's unrelated to John. That's just an ongoing problem of yours. Right. So, okay, first we have a little history lesson. We're going to talk about Simon Heifer. So Simon Heifer, his column in the Sunday Telegraph was about how panicking is not British. It's not British to panic. In his role as self-appointed keeper of Britishness. Now, it is worth saying that in summer of 2019, prior to the 2019 general election, and I'm going to get the exact wording here for legal reasons to make sure I quote exactly what Simon Heffer said. In the summer of 2019, Simon Heffer said that on LBC Radio, home to very sensible people saying very sensible things, he said, Jeremy Corbyn is a man who wants to reopen Auschwitz. So it's important to think here that so this is the man who is telling us that he doesn't like this hysterical, panic-driven British public. But so anyway, he wrote a column yesterday about this, saying that in the 70s we didn't panic when there were shortages. Well, in the newsletter, I went looking and pulled up many anecdotes from people from the 70s saying, actually, yeah, when there were sugar shortages, there were runs on supermarkets to get sugar, and there were people fighting in supermarkets over various other things that you couldn't get. But the other thing I think is interesting, so we talk a lot, I'm sure I think we've talked on here before even, about the way that right-wing columnists' versions of history miss out big parts, right? So, like, you know, Dunkirk is sort of is the thing of like, the Blitz spirit, and then actually when you look into histories of the Blitz, during the Blitz there was a lot of looting, there was quite a bit of panic. So anyway, he wrote this thing saying we are the people who went through the Somme and the Blitz, and I thought, well, this is a great thing because it shows the kind of specific columnist derangement. Simon Heffer's 61 years old. He didn't live through rationing, let alone live through the war, right? But in his mind, he's fought every war in history.
Yeah,
and won. Thank you. But when he specifically talked about the Blitz, it gave me an opportunity to do a little history lesson for the readers of my newsletter about the 1943 Bethnal Green tube tragedy, which was caused by there was a German raid, and there was panic at the entrance to the station of people trying to get down the stairs to get into the shelter. 173 people died, but those events were hushed up at the time for until 1945. The full details didn't come out because it was felt that would encourage the Germans to do more raids like that and lead to further panic. So here's a historical incident that's purely about panic, right? And of course, no disparagement on those poor people who died and people who were involved in that incident. But the point is, the history that someone like Simon Heffer puts in his columns is a history of this British stiff upper lip thing, this notion of like, you know, kind of a Sunday afternoon matinee movie version of what war is like. And the other thing I quoted from is some Dulce et Decorum Est by Wilfred Owen, where he's writing about the panic of troops in the trenches as they're gassed, right? But the way you have Simon Heffer write about this is, well, our boys didn't panic at the Somme, and you go, many of them did. My great grandfather came back from the First World War, having been gassed, and was different. You know, was changed psychologically and physically for the rest of his surprisingly long life. So, just this notion of history.
Excuse me, Mick, but I'll tell you right now, British pigs don't panic when they're gassed, and that's why they're the finest in the country. It's why we need the CO2, even though DEFRA said it should be phased out within 3 years about 15 years ago.
Yes,
but
the wider point is, whether we're talking about the First World War, the Second World War, food shortages in the 70s, the version of history that someone like Heffer presents is there to suggest that there was once a national character of Britain that was a certain way and is now gone. Because actually, what a paper like the Telegraph, the Times as well, Daily Mail, they actually, whenever they say don't panic, they're not like the Hitchhiker's Guide having that on the front cover, encouraging you not to panic. They're like Corporal Jones saying don't panic, giving the effect of everyone needing to panic. The Telegraph requires its readers to constantly feel, even as a right-wing government is in power, that actually things aren't good and you know, the wokeists under the bed are coming to get them. So it's the biggest amount of gall you could have to have someone saying in the Telegraph, "Oh, don't panic," when actually that's what they want at all times.
Yes. Also, I very much enjoy your newsletter, brokenbottleboy.substack.com.
Yes, thank you.
your endless plays. I'm going to say jeu de mots because I'm going to come up with all the French aphorisms around the word Gaul, which is appropriate.
Yes, mostly asterisk-based metaphors.
Yeah. I always enjoy any asterisk-based metaphor is always welcome here.
So anyway, that was yesterday's piece, and I just think it's interesting, but it's just the way that history is distorted constantly to tell stories about, always to imply that we now are lesser than our forebears, that somehow we are like these lily-livered weak people. But the final thing to say on that is, most people who fought in the First World War and in the Second World War they didn't have a choice. It's not like you just go, it was a conscript army and you go because you're told you've got to go. And heroism is a bizarre thing. My dad was in the Navy, and he has a real problem with the word with heroes and the concept of heroes, because it is a political thing that governments use to talk about war. You have to have some heroes to sort of imply, but then when people come back, we don't look after them, these heroes. And the implication is still always there from people like Heffer, who's never pulled a uniform on in his life. Neither have I, but I don't act like I could win a war, whereas these bloviators like him, right? People today are weak compared to whatever. It's like, mate, your job is to talk crap in the Daily Telegraph. It doesn't require a high level of, heroic endeavour.
Mick.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't something that you can really say in public, but I'm going to say it anyway. We have to maintain the British stiff upper lip. And if you like, dilute that stiff upper lip with other people's upper lips, do you understand what I'm saying? Then we're lost as a country.
Sorry,
mate.
I can't hear you because
we're lost
dogs
as
are barking.
A country, mate.
We're
lost.
Sorry, the dogs are barking so loudly I couldn't hear you there. Also, I thought controversial for coins was coming later.
Oh yeah, it is. I've got the cup ready. Won't be long now.
Right, so let's talk. It's
coming
pigs,
too naturally now.
I know you love to talk about pigs.
But no one loves to hear me talk about pigs, so I'm going to try to shut my mouth.
So I'm going to read you an extract from a publication, and I want you to guess which publication wrote this actually very good criticism of the Prime Minister.
Okay.
So the person writes, having covered farming politics for more than 20 years, I've never seen such an appalling, ill-judged and ill-informed interview. Seems astonishing that it came from a man deemed worthy by some of holding the role of Prime Minister. Well, where do you think that comes from?
The Mirror.
No.
Morning Star.
No. That is an extract from an editorial from Pig World magazine and written by the editor Alistair Driver.
I buy it for the articles.
Buy it for the articles. David Cameron buys it for the centrefold. We've all got choices. So anyway, yesterday on the Andrew Marr show, Andrew Marr said to the Prime Minister, it looks like 120,000 pigs will have to be killed and incinerated if there is no answer to chronic shortage of abattoir and butchery workers in the next 10 days. And he said to the Prime Minister, that will be the single biggest cull of healthy animals ever to occur in the history of British agriculture. What are you going to do? So what did the Prime Minister say? The Prime Minister said, I hate to break it to you, Andrew, but our food processing industry does involve the killing of a lot of animals. That is the reality. Your viewers need to understand that is what happens.
Nice.
So he completely...
Boris Johnson, FDA.
Completely ignores what the actual reality is and says, oh, yes, but, we do have to kill animals for meat. But when, it's just
do
maddening.
Go on. Yeah.
So then you get in the Daily Mail, Henry Deeds writing. It's just a sort of side issue. It's the notion they don't. We have a press that doesn't take. The Prime Minister doesn't take himself seriously, so the press doesn't take himself seriously. So he can say stuff like this, just maddening, ridiculous things, and it's just forgotten. I've written a list in today's newsletter of other things that the press just doesn't bring up that much anymore. The Brexit bus. the time he hid in a fridge, the COVID contract corruption, the wallpaper, the dodgy Plus trust plan, the bizarre speech about making toy bosses, the Jennifer Curie fair and its attendant financial corruption, the cozy dinners and the tennis matches with generous Russians, the racist, sexist, and homophobic comments recorded in decades of columns, his personal role in prolonging the imprisonment of Nazanin Zaghari Ratcliffe, the promise to supply a journalist's address to his fraudster friend so he could have him roughed up, and most of all, deaths of over 120,000 people.
You've got a very fine-toothed rake, Mick.
So what you have with this is they'll laugh about the fact that the Prime Minister has no idea how agriculture in this country works and could just sort of go, oh, yeah, 120,000 pigs, whatever, you know. And then, but by tomorrow, that'll be gone, right? And then we'll be being told about how wonderful his speech is, or, you know, what about this funny joke? Or today, you know, you had, after this interview, Robert Peston said, oh, I'm confused by why the Prime Minister said this. Robert Peston's sort of like a confused tourist wandering around Westminster, pointing at large objects and going, what is that? Who can say what this is for? And then, and meanwhile, you have Laura Kuenssberg, fascinated by the fact that the Prime Minister went out running in a collar shirt and dress shoes and shorts. They're so easily distracted. You can jingle your keys in front of a Westminster correspondent, and that's it. They've lost.
Give them something to gum on. They love it.
It's like they barely have object permanence. Anyway, that's what it's about today. It's also about Keir Starmer writing an op-ed for The Sun over the weekend. Now, the last person to die as a result of the Hillsborough tragedy died in July. That was Andrew Devine. He passed away in July. And in 2022, the Labour Party conference is due to be held in Liverpool, a city where obviously the sun isn't welcome. I'd quite like to see all the venues in Liverpool say, well, the Labour Party's not welcome now. Because if Keir Starmer's attitude is, well, we've got to talk to Sun readers. We've got to talk to Sun readers. And it's like, yeah, there are many other places you can talk to Sun readers, right? But not only did he write an op-ed for The Sun, but The Sun didn't ask him. He asked The Sun if he could write an op-ed for it. And
it's something like 700 quid a column. It's very good money.
It's not too shabby. He's struggling.
Yeah.
He's struggling.
Yeah.
He's part of the squeeze middle.
I've got an exclusive clip of last week's Labour conference, his speech coming up later on in the podcast. So
I look forward to that.
I can't point the finger. I'm not welcome in Liverpool, but that's got nothing to do with The Sun.
That's because of Redacted.
One night, God, yeah, one pig.
But the issue that I have with this whole Keir Starmer writing for The Sun thing is that people, because he is a Blairite tribute act, right? It's just Tony Blair tribute act. He thinks, well, Tony Blair got The Sun on side and then I won that election, right? But the Sun, it does not have the clout it used to have. It still has political value for Rupert Murdoch, but it was recently valued as at zero in the News UK accounts. It has a far fewer readers than it used to have. And at the 2017 election, research found that 30% of Sun readers still voted for Jeremy Corbyn, despite all the things the Sun said. So imagine if you just went, okay, we will talk to The Sun in the respect of, if there are a press conference, we'll talk to them. We won't do a Jurgen Klopp, I'm not going to talk to you thing. But actively choosing to be interviewed and to appear in The Sun is essentially saying, I am giving in to a tabloid protection racket where I believe if I don't get Rupert Murdoch on side, a man born in Australia who is a US citizen who still jumped the queue for a vaccine in the UK while his Fox network was telling people to be suspicious of the vaccine. Why is it that we just accept that Rupert Murdoch should have such a huge role in the public discourse in the United Kingdom?
Honestly,
it is deranged.
Your rake from a doll's house.
In the same way, it's deranged that Lebedev was given a seat in the House of Lords.
I want to ask you a question.
Yes.
Tony Benn observed that everyone thinks that in times of recession or hardship and poverty, there'll be a swing to the left because that would make sense. But there isn't. There's always a swing to the right. And I think it's because people feel, well, it's all very well to have these sort of values of, share and share alike and Marxism and all the rest of it, but times are too hard and I've got to look after myself and my own. Therefore, I'm going to go for the more selfish, self-centered option. I don't want to pay more tax. I don't want to pay into the public purse because I'm struggling. And so there's this kind of cyclical brilliance of the Tory model, which is drive down standards, increase poverty, and actually people will vote for you more.
If
you're Keir Starmer, how do you counter that? Go on, mate.
Well, if you're Keir Starmer, you won't, because Keir Starmer has been institutionally captured by the establishment long ago. The minute he became director of public prosecutions and was essentially baked into a justice system that he finds it hard to criticize. You look at the speech last week, and he on the day that Sarah Everard's killer, whose name I won't use because I refuse to, was jailed. On that day, Keir Starmer stood up and saying, because I believe in the safety of women, I think there should be more police on the streets. And you just think, this man can only speak in sound bites. This man cannot understand that the police are actually... that often the police feel to people like another criminal gang. Right? Yes. So you look at him and you go, the minute he accepted a knighthood, the minute he became director of public prosecutions, the reason that papers like the Mail will occasionally say quite nice things about Keir Starmer is because he actually serves a really good purpose, which is like, there is no opposition, not an effective opposition. He's just sort of like a man writing stern letters to Chessington World of Adventure because he was annoyed that the sandwiches cost more than he expected. He has no critique of the system because he is baked into the system. And then you can say, okay, well, there's no other option. He has to talk to the Sun. The right-wing press has to operate this, that, and the other. No, not really, because on the opposite side of things, Boris Johnson has repeatedly shown that you can do things like when he was doing his people's PMQs, for instance, when he was going to YouTube and stuff. It is possible. If you were a creative thinker, you could go, I will go to other media to make my case. But Keir Starmer is a man of limited in imagination.
Sorry, but I've watched him flossing on TikTok, and it was pretty awesome. Mick.
And now the segment comes to an end.
Yeah, I'm shutting you down. I'm cancelling.
Time to make it fun.
I'm no platforming you anymore.
You're just like, the listeners have to put up with this portion of vegetables every Monday.
It's awesome. Are you kidding me? It's brilliant. You'll be on the internet's on a diverse platform, finding creative new ways to reach your audience at twitch.tv/brokenbottleboy, right? At 1?
This is correct, yes. Although there may be a guest presenter in today, as I'm going to take my mum to see James Bond.
Are you really?
Yes.
Awesome. Let us know how it is.
She's a big fan of Daniel Craig, so.
I'm a big fan of Daniel Craig.
And that's why you're banned from Liverpool.
Thank you, Mick.
That's a callback. That's what they call a callback.
Well done. All right. All right.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Love you. Bye. I love you. Bye. 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 Mic Wright there. Well, surely you have some thoughts on all of that stuff. It's not today at swanburst.com. Maybe you can think of creative new platforms for Keir Starmer to embrace. What should he do? I should say a quick good morning to all the people watching on YouTube. Good morning, people watching on YouTube. Morning, Steph, Neil, Jane. Good morning, Martin. Good morning, Darren, Alex, and everybody else. And Owen. Oh my God. Owen is watching in America, where it's like 2:30 in the morning, I think. That may be too much dedication. I don't know. Some reaction coming in. Alex says this is primary school history. It's the same way thinking the collapse of supermarkets would lead to the local farmer selling milk in the local shops. What a lovely idea. Alex says he has to use a little pill to stiffen his upper lip these days. A lot of talk about pigs. Anyway, good times. Darren says, Pig World Centerfolds, Hot Trotter. Lovely. Thank you very much. Don't forget to subscribe to Mic's newsletter. It's brokenbottleboy.substack.com. I guess it's time, oh God, heart in mouth for us to do this. Controversial for coins. WhatsApp Jon Holmes now on 07862 032 654. Oh God. All right. Let me find the right thing. That's not the right thing. That's not the right thing. That's all stuff still to come. It's quite hard, this. All right, here we go. With Nigel Farage hit by a van waiting to get petrol, what are we going to do about this fuel crisis? Never mind the army, who would you like to see driving the trucks? The work shy, perhaps? And who really is to blame? Is it Alexander Armstrong for doing his 24 concerts in 24 hours gig? A profligate waste of petrol as I'm concerned. Who should we be denying petrol to? Pundits, it's over to you.
You what?
Oh God.
What is it now? So what? So there's like, right, no drivers. This is what we're going to do about drivers. Well, for a start, right, think about it. Right, it's pretty easy, isn't it? Right?
Oh God.
So there are, what are there? There are trucks and robots. And what have we got? Transformers, which I think are, by the way, trucks that identify as women or something. It doesn't matter, does it? It's the word trans is in there, so it's trans.
Oh God.
Can't even argue about it.
I've got the mug.
It's too confusing. It's too confusing. Who would want to argue about the word trans? Nobody, right? So
I'm trying to put myself on this video.
Transformers are robots in disguise, which means that robots can use the women's spaces in truck stops. Oh God. I think so. If there's any problem with transporting petrol around the country, then robots that are identifying as trucks can do that, and that's absolutely fine. And who would have a problem with it? I wouldn't have a problem. I wouldn't have a robot identifying as a truck.
I'm not really listening.
If you are the person who would have that problem, then you're a you're a turf. So
well said,
yeah,
mate.
and that I think is a problem. That's why petrol is not being transported around the country because of turfs.
Well said, mate. Okay, that was Jon Holmes there being controversial for coins. We have had some other reaction come in. So heart in mouth. Let's have a listen to some of that. Here we go.
Hello, first time caller. You keep talking about pandemics, Brexit, migrants, immigrants.
Yeah.
You know, the lack of petrol, the lack of things on the supermarket aisles. Well, I mean, I'm absolutely bereft of ciabatta at the moment, but people aren't looking at the situation that we need to look at now.
Which is?
I've got a packet of mince pies with the best before date of the 8th of November. What the hell am I supposed to do?
Mate, just bring it forward. Christmas should be at Christmas with the Christmas on something. Here's is a message from last week from someone saying it won't be relevant by next week, but yes, it will. Here it is.
All right, Darren here.
All right, Dan.
When we let all these trackers in, there's no fuel.
Oh, yeah, good point. Where are they going to drive? Sorry, I cut that off. Doesn't matter. Here's another one.
This is a message for Britain Awake. All this malarkey with petrol and fuel and whatnot.
Yeah.
I think we're all forgetting something, which is the great British bicycle. 2 words, bicycle, also known as a bike. I don't want anybody talking about the 1400s and some Italian guy or some sort of 1800s German guy. It's a
Right.
British invention.
Okay.
But yeah, just load up a load of paper boys who ain't been working recently. Load them up with petrol, deliver it about. Saves the army some time.
Yeah.
And failing that, if it works, possibly we can just do all of haulage by bicycle and paperboy.
That'd be nice.
Get those kids off the backside. It'll be like a modern coal mine, and send them up chimneys and the like.
Yeah.
But it's bikes, exercise.
Yeah.
Anyway, keep Britain British. All right? Yeah.
Thing is, it's a question of personal preference, but, I'm not allowed to express my personal preference, which is for a heterocycle. It doesn't all have to be all everything all the time, does it? We've had this come through from someone somewhere. Here we go.
Hi, Jake.
Hi.
Firstly, I want to say how appalled I was to hear about poor Nigel.
Poor Nigel
Everyone
Farage,
who drives should be aware of the rules of the road in this country, which are at all times you give way to the far right. That's how it's always been.
Very good,
My
mate.
idea to deal with the fuel crisis may be a bit radical for some of your listeners, Jake.
Okay.
But basically, I think to solve it, we need to be more open to immigration and embrace environmentally friendly solutions.
Yeah.
Now, stay with me, right?
Yeah,
We have a
still
lot
with
of
you.
illegal immigrants coming over here, okay?
Yeah.
So what we really need is a visa that gives them the legal right to stay in the UK, alright?
Right.
We need that.
Okay.
So what you do with it, right, is you chain half a dozen immigrants to the front of your car, wave the visa in front of them on a big stick, and off they go. Problem solved, and it's saving the planet as well. Even the wokiest of liberal can't argue with that, can they?
Some great alternative transportation suggestions there. Really appreciate it. Jane on YouTube says we need to ban Vaseline. Petroleum jelly is a waste of supreme unleaded. I need petrol in my tank, not in my other thing. Thank you very much for that. And Martin on Twitter says, is that not Today Pod, by the way? He says, people crossing the channel in small motorboats, they can donate what's left in the motor for one. Also, they're from oil-rich nations. Can't they bring a can each with them? They're not carrying much else. Thank you very much indeed for that. Well, now, it's the Tory party conference this week, and there was speculation this morning on the Today programme that the speech is not going to go well. Boris Johnson's speech, because it's a bad room, and I've had that with stand-up. You play a bad room, particularly if it's one of those sort of long tunnely rooms. If there's like a sort of air conditioning, and you've got that white noise, that kind of, it just sort of deadens the room. And apparently this is a notoriously bad room and have a bad speech. I feel like the Tories are very good at closing ranks. I think it'll be just fine. A lot of heckling, wasn't there, last week in Keir Starmer's speech. Anyway, I haven't thanked the Patreons, the people who support this podcast and make it possible, in a while. And it's high time I did. And thank you so much. If you want to support the podcast, and there are exclusive things, we're going to do a little bit of a restructuring. And if you already support the podcast, I will let you know about that in due course. Just to kind of reflect the fact that it's a once a week show. But there's lots of stuff on there. We do a watch along on Friday evenings where we watch some terrible old slop on the YouTubes together, which is really jolly and fun. And everyone can sort of chip in. We have a great time. There's other bits and pieces. But if you do want to support it, it's Patreon. That's patron with an E in the middle. Patreon.com/NotTodayPod. Huge thanks to everybody who does support it. We're going to thank them all now through the medium of Sir Keir Starmer's excellent speech that he gave last week. Here we go. Conference. I want to talk to you about my dad, because he was really brilliant. And if there's one thing loads of us have, it's dads. Relatable stuff, this. I'm like you, if you have or had a dad. My dad was a tool maker. And this is a banal anecdote, but that's what we do in the Labour Party. We celebrate and elevate the banal.
You're rubbish and we miss Jeremy!
Hang on, I've got my list here. Shouting guff or changing stuff? Cue the frantic masking applause. Thank you. While Boris Johnson was on Top Gear, I was successfully breeding rescued narwhals. when he was on Top of the Pops with Timmy Mallet.
Bring back Jeremy Corbyn, the one true king of Labour.
Forming policies or acting like Wallaceys. Thank you. There's some people I'd like to thank. My dad, who's a Patreon to this podcast, even though I'm confident he hasn't the slightest idea how it works. To the members of my Patreon, Chris, Christian, Corin, Diggory, Gemma, Lee, Lindsay, Natasha, and Neil. Thank you.
Jezza was the best, and you should have...
Interrupting again, or into number 10. Thank you. To the Patreon grassroots activists, Alex, Barney, Charlotte, Claire, Daniel, Darren, Dave, David, Alt, David James, Duncan, Emily, Fiona, Gordon, Joel, John, Julian, Catherine, Madeline, Melissa, Mick, Una, Richard, Rick, Ricky, Robert.
You voted against something that I didn't agree with, and it's very bad, actually.
Chanting slogans or Terry Wogan's. Let's get that one. To my Patreon local councillors working so tirelessly to sort out the bins up and down the country, I'd like to thank Alice, Bob, Bruce, Christopher, Claire, Dan, Greg, Jem, Kim, Malk, Neil, Nick, Pablo, Pat, Sam, and of course, Steph.
I don't like your footwear.
Thank you.
Also, what about Nicaragua? You haven't mentioned it once.
Disagreeing faction or ending up in traction? To my Patreon MPs, also dealing with a lot of stuff about bins. David Brazel, David Popey, Jane, and Ruby.
You suck at charades!
Letting me be leader or being a little bleeder. And finally, to my Patreon mums and dads, who taught me how to be all laboury long before I got other people to write speeches about it. I'd like to thank Julie and Matt.
You're a whiny little
Who let him in? He wasn't supposed to be allowed in. Tools. Schools. Rules. Bulls. These are the things that Labour stands for. We'll literally say anything to be allowed to have a go now. If everyone in the country is a selfish idiot, then we can help them too. Thank you, conference. I said serve the beer in plastic glasses for exactly this reason. Why doesn't anyone ever listen to me? Keir Starmer there, thanking all of the patrons of this podcast. Thank you so much for supporting it. It genuinely makes an enormous difference, like you wouldn't believe. If you would like to support the podcast, it's www.patreon.com/nottodaypod. Also, though, for next week, I think this would be fun. If you've got an idea for a smart hashtag conference put down, why don't you send that in? Hashtag conference put down. You know, deal with the hecklers in great style. That would be really great. Send it in. It's at NotTodayPod on Twitter, or you can email nottoday@swanburst.com. We'll have some of those next week. Martin's got one. Keir Starmer or Pig Farmer. And Darren had the same one. Amazing. Anyway, or maybe I don't know. Well done, everybody. Hey, don't forget there's a new podcast. It's If You're Missing Cousin Davey. We're doing it. You can still hear it. It's Audio Freaks. That's audio in the normal way, and then Freaks, Freqs. Doesn't really work, but it's a podcast. It's like what we were doing on Fridays right here. And it's up and running now. So go and check that out. And I will see you next week. Lots of love. Bye-bye.
This has been a Swanburst Media production.
Load of old arse.